Backpack Broadcasting continues to bring you the best original sports content, but now you can get more of the content you love. For as little as $3 a month, you can get access to bonus content, including behind-the-scenes footage and interviews from the Sports Walk, Sideline Stories, or the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. All this exclusive content comes via Patreon. There are tiered levels of patronage, and each Backpack Broadcasting patron receives exclusive perks. Your support helps Backpack Broadcasting create more of the original content that you love. Visit Backpack Broadcasting's Patreon page and become a patron today. Ain't Hard to Tell podcast, episode 194. Dexter Henry, Brian Fonseca here. Dave, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing all right. Doing a lot better than some NBA players' mentions today. I'll say that much.
I'm sure you are. It's been a rough time. This podcast is exciting for us because the NBA season, not officially underway, but we are somewhat at the start. Media Day, as we were recording this at the beginning of the week, occurred today. And there was a lot that went around in Media Day, and there's a lot to talk about at the start of the season, particularly surrounding vaccines and the miseducation of those people who are anti-vax. But we will get into all that. To discuss this, we have to bring the guys that we know we love to talk basketball with all the time. First of all, my guy from the 7 Footers podcast. He is the co-host of there. You also see him on True Hoop. You also catch him on the NBA Exchange with me once a week, actually bringing nuance to an NBA conversation. It's my man, Jarod Hector. Jarod, what's up, bro?
We're going to have all the nuance today. It's going to be it's going to be like a nuance Wednesday, except it's Monday. All the nuance.
It is. And then our other homeboy, guy who is the co-host of the Bros Pod. I was just on that with him a couple of weeks ago. You also can see his work in the Undefeated. He is the college basketball guru that more people need to give him credit for. The Blackatologist, my man, Jamal Murphy. Murph, what's up, man?
What up? I'm here.
Murph, we love that you are wearing the Seattle Mariners hat. Shout out to Ken Griffey Jr. And we also see that you have some sort of hip-hop shirt on, starting with Biggie. I don't know who the other 4 people are on that list, but I'm sure it's probably good.
Yeah,
that's Jay-Z.
Couple legends on there.
Okay, just a couple of legends. Couple of legends there. Okay, nothing wrong with that. All right, guys, we're gonna get into it because we got a lot to talk about on this episode. I can see Jarod. I know you are raring to go. Brian, I know you are raring to go on a lot of topics. But let's start off. Today was Media Day for a bunch of teams. Jarod and Jamal, you both were at Nets Media Day and were able to talk and see a lot about what people had to say. Let's just take an overall view of this. What was everybody's reaction to the first day of Media Day and some of the stuff we heard? Anything shocking, surprising? How excited is everybody for this upcoming season? Brian, you're laughing. You can go ahead.
I mean, nothing shocking, but like, could we just get right into the vaccine shit? Because like,
chill, man, chill.
That's why we're here. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we're really here. You're talking about, damn, I should look clean. Maybe this Thunderbolt shit is actually working. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, you see what happens when you step your internet game up. It can be better. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're hardwired in today, baby.
Okay.
So basically, the thing that got my attention the most was Bradley Beal just choosing to be like really ignorant with his comments. And we can get into like the nuts and bolts of that, but you know, we're soon we're gonna have a running list of guys who are just not vaccinated. People are gonna make those lists because, you know, to keep track, because they're fans of the team, fans of the league, fantasy basketball purposes and things of that nature. But some of the answers were quite embarrassing today with Bradley Beal, with Andrew Wiggins, who we've learned about, and the big one, I suppose, is Kyrie Irving. Devin Booker, Jarod, you're gonna have to clarify for me, but we're sure that he's not vaccinated because he's in health and safety protocol right now, and I don't know like what's up with him, but there are a lot of things going on in terms of whether or not guys are vaccinated and things of that nature that, for me, stole the show on day one of media day, because we're laughing about it, but at the same time, like, we're still in this public health crisis and have been for going on 19 months now. And I don't know where the finish line is. Like, before, there were projections about, we might be good by this point, but if people keep resisting, as some of these NBA players are, it's only a handful, it's not many, but then we're not going to quite get out of this. And that's why, this is not a personal decision to not get vaccinated. Like, we all have to know, because this is actually a public health issue. So players who are opting the personal decision thing, Kyle Kuzma did the same thing. Bradley Beal did that. He said, for personal reasons that I'm not going to tell you, I'm not getting the vaccine, and then proceeded to tell us all the reasons that he's not getting the vaccine, and so on and so forth. So there you go.
Jarod and Jamal, were you guys surprised at all at how much the vaccination story or the anti-vax stories dominated the first day of media day around the NBA?
I mean, not for me. Look, NBA media day is typically like the first day of school, right? Everybody's happy to see everybody. The players come in. Oh, it's good to see you guys, man. Everybody's laughing, joking. Everybody loves each other. Shit is all good. That's a normal NBA media day. Everybody comes back. I'm in the best shape of my life. We're going to play fast this year. All the usual cliche stuff you get. Ho-hum, boring. Oh, the anti-vax stuff took over because that's the story, right? Like, in media, what sells is what is controversial, right? Let's put it like this. If the league was 100% vaccinated, what's the story? Right? And it ain't getting a whole lot of clicks.
WNBA almost is.
Agreed. You know what is getting clicks? Kyrie might be into a satanic cult, which says the Moderna vaccine has a microchip, right? Like, that gets clicks. That gets views. So, yeah, it's no surprise that the anti-vax story is taking over NBA Media Day.
Murph?
Yeah, no, I agree. I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, that's the story, like Jarod said. I mean, this is the story that's going on, especially when you're talking about the Nets and Kyrie Irving. I mean, that was in the news for the past few days. So this was kind of like everybody was anticipating what would happen at the Nets media day. So, Kyrie showed up via Zoom, which I wasn't even expecting him to do that. So that was a bit of a surprise. So we got to hear from him. The only other thing besides the vaccine that was interesting, I thought, was what Brian texted to our chat was the Embiid reaction to Simmons. I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, other than that, it's all about the vaccine.
With that being said, and everything being all about the vaccine, guys, we got to bring it back to the NBA's vaccination policy, if you shall say, right? So there isn't a mandate for everybody to be vaccinated in terms of players. We have staff that has to be vaccinated. People who are around the players have to be vaccinated, but all the players do not have to be vaccinated. And obviously that was agreed upon with the Players Association and so forth with that. How do we feel about that? Is this good for the league going forward? And do we see this being more problematic as we go forward in this season? Because if you have 100% vaccination, Jarod, as you mentioned, right, this would not necessarily be a story, and it would be obviously safer for the league. But do we see this being a problem? And I guess, I'll get to another question later about if dudes are really willing to sit out and lose money. But do we see this being a problem with the health and safety of the players in the league that everybody says they care about?
I mean, yeah, right. It's a problem because if staff members, arena workers, officials, everybody except for players have to be vaccinated, but they don't, yeah, that's a problem because you're separating, right? And of course, we know why. The players have maybe the most powerful, although baseball might be the most powerful union, but maybe the second most powerful union in all sports in the NBPA. And we know that any type of vaccine mandate was not going to be agreed upon by the PA. We knew that. Right? Okay, but regular people who work in the NBA, trainers, whomever, league officials, they don't have a union. They gotta just do whatever the deal is. If Adam's like, hey man, you ain't gonna have a job here if you're not vaccinated, what you gonna do? Not get vaccinated? Of course you are, depending on whatever your situation is. But this is problematic because you're putting other people's lives at risk, right? When you have players who choose not to get the vaccine and do Lord knows what in their free time, engaging and mingling with whomever. Let's say I'm a trainer, right? And I've got to be really up close with these dudes, massaging them, doing all that kind of jazz. I got young kids at home. Let's say they have some kind of health condition and a kid under 12 who can't get the vaccine because it's not approved yet for under 12-year-old kids. That ain't cool. I mean, Murph, you and Dex have kids under 12. You would not be down with somebody who has to mix around people who are unvaccinated coming near your kids.
Right. I think it's obviously problematic. I think in a perfect world, we would want all the leagues to mandate the vaccine. We want all the states to mandate the vaccine, but that's not the world we live in. It's not the country we live in right now. And, besides the Players Association being powerful, we know the NBA is a players' league. And we talk about it being a players' league as far as contracts go and being able to force your way out of situations. This is another example that it's a players' league. The league does not want to even alienate some of their biggest stars. They know that the stars make the money. So they're trying everything they can not to impose certain things on these stars, and they're just hoping that these guys come around on their own. Of course, when it comes to referees and support staff, they have no problem mandating it for them because they're expendable. Any of these people who don't want to get a vaccine in those areas, they'll just replace you. But they can't do the same with the players. The NFL is actually doing a surprisingly good job to me. They might even have definitely less high-profile guys who are coming out as anti-vax. So it's troublesome, but it's not surprising. And then just go to what's going on in society. It's just a reflection of society, where you have a huge segment of the population has been misinformed, is spreading misinformation. It's anti-vax. It's just crazy right now. So it's just part of society. What's going on in the NBA right now?
Now, with that being said, just to bring it back to, we know that with the NBA's vaccine policy, there was something that if you wanted to get a religious exemption from the vaccine, although I would like to see the religious text that says they're against vaccines, I still would like somebody to show that to me and should see where that exists. I do not think that it does, but that's a whole nother thing. Andrew Wiggins tried to get this. He was denied by the league. We don't know what Andrew Wiggins is going to do, right? As far as this goes,
he's going to get the shot and play.
Look. I'll tell you what. I don't know why the religious exemption thing is a thing, because I'm pretty sure God will want you to take the shot, bro. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
God made the shot.
Pretty sure.
I don't even want to get all religious with whether you believe or what you don't believe in here. But most people who believe in a higher power, right? They believe in love and peace and health and safety for all, and so
but they real funny about this vax though. They real funny about that. I think the Wiggins thing is interesting that you brought up, Dexter, because look, and the Kyrie thing too, because those are two of the more prominent people who are not vaccinated, and there's specific issues with them because of the cities in which they play their home games, right? San Francisco and New York City, which mandate that for the type of jobs they have, anything indoor, any kind of gatherings, you must be vaccinated to be there, right? Okay, that's one thing. My position, and I'm sure we all saw the Wiggins video of his press conference today, and Kyrie, it's like, I want to keep it personal, I want to keep it private. It's like, okay, on the one hand, you do have a right to privacy. On the other hand, you choose to make certain things public, right? Particularly when it comes to misinformation, Kyrie Irving, about the vaccine. Well, you can't now decide, oh, with this, I don't want to tell you about it. It's like, no, dog, like, you open Pandora's box, right? If you don't want to talk about it, you shouldn't have put anything out about it, but you started already. So now we get to ask you questions, particularly as it relates to your inability to play home games. Because as media members, we're asking about the basketball, right? You are an integral part of this team. You might not be around for 41 games. How do you feel about that? Because you care about your teammates and the brotherhood and all that, right? How do your teammates feel about it? How do the coaching staff and the GM feel about it? Probably not great, but they're going to support you in public because that's what they do. They all rally behind you. But that in and of itself is extremely selfish. And again, if you are so strong in your convictions to be, I'm anti this, you should be strong and say it with your chest and come out and say why. Andrew Wiggins today was like, the reason why I'm not telling you is because it's my decision. I don't ask you about your beliefs. Say, but we ain't public people. You are. So we get to ask you about your beliefs. And if you're that confident, say it with your chest. What do you believe in? What's
And
the
also,
reason?
it's not a private decision because we all are going to
Amen.
know what decision you made,
Right.
based on whether you play or not.
Exactly. Right. It's not private.
Like, so what are you even saying? Like,
Right.
like you want to keep this private? We're going to know.
Right. We already know. We already know you don't have it.
Right.
And on top of that, we should know, given everything that, like, again, this is a public health thing. Like, we should actually know whether or not you're
Right.
vaccinated, so we know whether or not we want to stay the fuck away from you or otherwise. So,
No,
That's an excellent point you brought up, Brian.
Yeah.
Right? Kyrie Irving, who is an integral part of the Brooklyn Nets, could not be in Barclays Center today because he is not vaccinated. How is it, Kyrie? Me, I am no integral part of the Nets whatsoever or anything. I was there. How does that work? I was able to be at Barclays Center today. Your place of employment, you weren't, and you are critically important. Like, my guy, like, we get to talk about this.
No, I
did
agree.
you read
I
one
think
of the
that-
quotes, by the way? That, I mean, there were them Kyrie quotes were going around, boy. But there was one that I read in particular that he said on the Zoom. I'm not sure if this is like legit though, because there was like some other erroneous thing going around.
Well, you
but
say it, and I'll see if I can.
you
corroborate
tell
that
me
more.
because you were there. But he says we've been provided with natural remedies and cures on this earth for thousands of years.
Nope, didn't say that. Didn't say that.
Didn't say that. It
Nope.
sounds like some Kyrie shit though.
And
Because
that's the thing, and it's
and
really
that's
easy
what's
because he
dangerous.
said that to his board.
would say some wild stuff like that, right? That's like he would say. He did not say that on
See, and
this film.
Yo, I
that's so
just- I
dangerous.
just-
That's
just
so
wanna
dangerous
point
with
out-
social media too.
I just want to point out, like, as it relates to some of the players themselves, though, like Kyrie, Jonathan Isaac, who I'm glad is not representing the Puerto Rican national team. Like a lot of guys, it's not surprising when you look at who in a lot of cases, which I find very interesting. Like some people have pointed that out. There are some people we haven't heard about. Obviously, if Spencer Hawes was still in the NBA, we would know where he stood on all this. But like, I'm curious to see like if we can get like a full running list. But you know, we'll see.
We'll have it. It's like Murph said. It's going to reveal itself. And I think you guys all hit on some good stuff. Brian, I think you hit on the nail on the head talking about this is a public health crisis, which is to go to Murph's point. This is why it can't be personal. When you affect the team, and all these athletes love to say, it's about the team. It's about the brotherhood. I'll do whatever it takes to win. This is all this athlete talk that we hear. If you're going to do what it takes to win and be about it for your teammates, why would you not care about the health and safety of your teammates, the entire organization, and take the vaccine? So for me, if you're not going to do it, and Jarod talked to me about something before the show with this, we're not here to demean or belittle people or do anything like that. But what I will say is it's absolutely selfish. If you're not willing to take that and be down for the team in the way all of these athletes have said they are, it's selfish. That's it. Like and the thing is, I think Jarod, you brought up this point too about the workers who they're interacting with, and you don't know if they're anti-vax or not doing it. You talked about some of those people being parents, like myself and Murph. Murph and I know this with young kids who cannot be vaccinated. We're trying to do everything we can to protect these kids. And this is the whole thing about adults and people 12 and over who can't be vaccinated. It's about protecting the kids. And I really want to ask some people, y'all don't give a damn about protecting the kids? But selfish people don't give a damn about protecting the kids. So I guess I answered that.
But I also feel like the misinformation, the conspiracy theories, and all that kind of stuff allow the people who the anti-vax people to skirt the whole selfish thing because they're basically playing dumb. You know, they're acting like they don't know that they'll deny that there's a pandemic going on or that it is as dangerous as people say, or that, you know, what, like Beal said, oh, you can get COVID anyway, even if you are vaccinated. So all that kind of talk, you know, allows people to at least to themselves, they don't feel selfish because they're denying the whole thing. They just think everybody else is dumb.
And Murph, you hit the nail on the head, Murph, beautifully there. That's the thing that I said at the start of this show. You're not even arguing the merits of the situation because the people who believe in vaccines and who are believing in doing the right thing from a public health standpoint clearly believe that vaccines work and they're effective and we have all the evidence to show it. The people who are not are literally denying the very validity of vaccines, right? So you can't even have an argument with them because they don't even think it's real. It's like, nah, this is some bullshit. Vaccines ain't real. They give kids autism, like all kinds of, but guess what? Whether we think it's crazy or not, That's at the fundamental core of what these people believe. So we can't argue about COVID because we're coming from two different point of views, right? I am someone who believes in vaccinations. If you don't, how come we talk about COVID vaccines? You're already out, right? And it's this idea of the scientific method. And I really want to go here because so many players talk about research and doing my own, and it's just nonsense. And I hate hearing this because none of this stuff happens. Like, this is an exhaustive process. Everyone here on this podcast is a college graduate, but we learned this shit in like elementary school science class, right? First, how do you start an experiment? You have an observation or a question, right, about something. Let's talk about vaccines. I question the efficacy of vaccines. Okay, what's my next step? I got to research that topic here. Now, this kind of research, exhaustive investigative research about vaccines. After I do that, I then come up with a hypothesis, right? My hypothesis is the COVID vaccine doesn't work, whatever. How do I have to prove that? Test it with millions of experiments, right? I have to analyze the data and the results of those experiments and report some kind of conclusion. Nobody who says they're doing their own research does any step in anywhere in that thing. Nobody. They go on Facebook or whatever silly internet
YouTube
site.
University, Jarod.
There you go. And find something that agrees with their point. Yeah, this is it. Cool. That's not research, friends.
And it could be Nicki Minaj.
There you go. Yeah.
You don't even
do research.
Gerod's Trinidadian sister. Gerod's Trinidadian sister.
Look,
I ain't claiming her like that. All right.
It's time to claim people. You know what I'm saying? Jonathan Isaac on my end. You know what I'm saying? Gerard with Nicki Minaj.
Chill.
Murph with Michael Porter Jr., fellow light skin. You know what I'm saying? Tough out here.
Colin Kaepernick.
Women's boxing.
Puerto Rico. I just want to say something real quick to what Jarod said, because I think that was fantastic about the scientific method and the process. And I rock with all of that. I'm with you 100%. My thing about this in terms of players who are anti-vax in any sport outside of the NBA is like, bruh, you did not get to where you were playing any sport at any level if you weren't vaxxed. You couldn't play high school sports if you didn't have vaccinations for polio, which was killing people at the beginning of the last century, measles, mumps, rubella, now chickenpox that kids are vaccinated for. You have had the privilege to play these sports at certain institutions because of vaccinations. Like, vaccines have literally allowed you to get to the point of where you are now, not to mention just society as a whole and being health and safety from some of these other diseases that years ago, decades ago, were actually killing people. So when you say, so then my question to those people, and though I agree with Jarod and I agree with Murph that you're not arguing the same thing, I'm with y'all on that. My question just is, why is it then this vaccine in particular that you are against, and you weren't against all those other vaccines that literally allowed you to be in the position of where you are today? Just want to put that out.
There are other
great points, by the way, Dex.
There are other forces out here. Okay.
A word.
There are other forces out here that are pumping in this misinformation. And it was done during the Trump campaign. It's with all the Russian interference and on the internet. I guarantee you half of the misinformation about the vaccine is coming from other countries. Okay, and they know how vulnerable our society is, and how let's face it, we live in an uneducated society.
Facts.
And I don't want, I try to refrain from talking about it in this way because you tend to sound elitist. if you're a college grad or whatever, but it's just what I see in terms of I'm seeing, a lot of these, most of the people I know, or it almost breaks down fully. Like the people I know who are highly educated have got the vaccine. The people I know who are not highly educated are like questioning the vaccine. So, and I think that other, people are taking advantage of this, and pumping information to people who they lack control of their lives, and we all lack control of our lives to some extent. But the poorer you are, the less educated you are, the less control you may have over your own life, and you seek that you seek that control, of that, or you want to be able to say, I have knowledge about this, and these people are dumb, kind of like what people have been doing to you your whole life. So I think that's part of it.
No,
And on top
you're on
of that,
something
Murph,
with that there.
and on top of that, Murph, to add to that point, like now it's so easy to get misinformation.
Oh my goodness.
Like we're in the quote unquote information age where we
The
should be getting
misinformation
smarter.
age.
Right, we should be
Facts.
getting smarter about things, but now we're just so exposed to misinformation where it's very easy. It's like what Jarod indicated earlier. You can very easily just search whatever you want and find something that sort of is on your side about it. Like it doesn't matter what it is. You can find anything that reinforces your point online anywhere. And to do that and not have the wherewithal to sort of make the distinction on what's real and what's not is actually kind of commonplace right now, which is scary, especially for the next generation, because they're looking at the adults sort of argue about this and have, sort of everything play out in front of them. And how are they going to come up? So it makes me also fear about like what's to come, because this is one level of this. I'm not sure if we're going to get smarter as a society, but
Probably not.
we'll see. I do have faith that there are enough smart people out there, but
And Dex, before you go forward, Dex, I will say we're in a vulnerable stage as a society as well, right? A lot of our citizenry is vulnerable. We talked about Nicki Minaj, we joked about Kyrie and these people. People have a sense and a need to want to feel like they belong to something or be connected to something, right?
Yep.
And that is the failure and the problem of celebrity culture, right? You see it with Nicki Minaj, Stans, the Barbs, whomever, right? Like people feel like, oh, I'm part of this club and this group. And like Nicki becomes a deity figure in that way, right? And so they identify themselves as a Barb and they have to defend her, right? Because they see it as some kind of like, no, this is my identity. This is who I am. Nicki gets me. Like we're the same. Like, and you can laugh, but it's true, right? So many people feel that way. And that's the problem when people like Kyrie and Nicki Minaj say whatever they say. It's like, yeah, we ain't going to listen to y'all because y'all dumb as fuck. But those people are going to listen to you because they are vulnerable. And when you are putting out misinformation, they are the ones getting hurt, because let's keep it a buck. If Nicki or Kyrie get COVID and get incredibly sick, they're getting rushed to the best healthcare facilities that are available and taking whatever is necessary to try to nurse themselves back to health, vaccine or not. You broke ass person, wherever you live, ain't gonna happen. You get it and you get it bad, probably gonna die, right? And that's the situation, right? And it's really unfortunate that those people don't recognize the influence they have when they say these things, right? Like Kyrie's extremely popular with kids that relates to basketball. Murph, what if Kareem came home and was like, yo, Dad, Kyrie really be onto something? You'd be like, boy, you better get that thought out your head right now, right? But that's the idea. Like, and these guys and listen, part of that is the problem with celebrity and what we've done to make that a culture. But these athletes and these entertainers know that, and they have to be better about what they put out there.
I like that you put it back on society. Go ahead, B.
Real quick, Dex. Jarod, to your point, we've actually seen this play out too with the last dude who was in office as president, where he would have these speeches and they would have these big gatherings amid COVID before we even had vaccines. And we would hear stories and read reports about people dying who attended these, who got COVID, whatever. And then, when he had it, he was able to like get on the helicopter, go to the best facility ever to get treatment, and he was good in a few days. And he acted like, this was nothing.
Not only get treatment, Brian, get treatment that is not available to the public.
That's right. Get the best treatment and stuff that only people of a certain stature could afford, could get. He probably didn't pay for it because the president, after all,
we pay for it. Yeah, we pay for it.
Right, exactly.
Even beyond that, before people contract COVID, right? You have some of these like celebrities or athletes, they're in a position to take better care of themselves in the first place, to where they don't have the comorbidities or they're not overweight. They have access to. They live in neighborhoods where there's a Whole Foods or whatever, and you're preaching to people who don't have that same access, and you're saying, oh, you don't need the vaccine. You can just live a healthy lifestyle and be in good shape.
Mhm.
Even though even that argument is debatable and probably not true. Like, because anybody could get COVID whether you're healthy or not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But even if that were true, you're preaching to people who don't have access to to healthy foods. They couldn't get in shape if they wanted to, and you're telling them not to get the vaccine. It's like
dangerous.
It's like what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said in his article. You have blood on your hands, and one thing that Abdul-Jabbar said that I think is great, where he's talking about he wished that all the leagues would have mandates, and yes, everybody does have the choice whether to get the vaccine or not. You don't have to get it, but then then take a true stand. If it's so morally objectionable to you, take a stand. Don't play. Forfeit the money. They're not going to do that. You know why? Because it can't be that morally objectionable because there's no truth behind it. It's built of cards. If you went and did the research, you say it all falls down. So of course you're going to get the shot and play, because every doctor you go to is going to say, yeah, that's probably the smart thing to do.
Right. The doctors are going to tell them that. I want to move on, guys, to this. We're still on this anti-vax topic because this is what we're going to talk about. But Matt Sullivan of Rolling Stone wrote a fantastic piece called "The NBA's Anti-Vaxxers Are Trying to Push Around the League," and it's working. And yes, Brian, Net fans are tight, and I do think it's disappointing the fans of teams that are trying to defend players who are saying this rhetoric, as Jarod was bringing up about the barbs and these other stands.
Well, real quick, Dex, before you continue, to Jarod's point, of all the players in the NBA who have these legions of stands, Kyrie is up there. And that has a lot to do with the sort of visceral reaction that Matt Sullivan received for his reporting, and along with the
damn good reporting, we should say,
and along with the fact that people just hate reporters now and feel like he's a grifter who backstabbed Kyrie, whatever the case may be. And I don't care about any of that shit. He's gotten some stuff out of players that other people haven't, and there's probably reasons for that. So
let's before we get as we get into this, let's just clear this up. This is damn good reporting by Matt Sullivan. He had people on the record, including Kyrie's auntie on the record. On here, there were other NBA players. Jonathan Isaac was on the record here speaking. This was good. This was good reporting. What was your reaction to this article? Because this came before Media Day that we're talking about. But between this article, now what we've had on Media Day, what do you think of Sullivan's story? Is this eye-opening for the league? Does this change anything? Or is this kind of like, yeah, we kind of knew who these anti-vaxxers were, maybe, or out there? And, does this really change anything for the league with this story breaking, particularly about World Be Flat? And y'all know who I'm talking about.
So it's funny. I mean, we said this at the beginning. Again, Matt Sullivan, excellent reporting, great job. I'm believing all the things that he wrote. But we talked about how sport is a microcosm of the larger society in which it inhabits, right? The NBA is anywhere between 85 to 90% vaccinated as it relates to players, right? So that means somewhere between 40 to 60 players are unvaxxed, which means the majority of players are vaxxed. Okay. But that ain't the story. The story is the loud vocal minority, right? And particularly what this loud vocal minority is talking about. Jonathan Isaacs, right, who is deep into his Jesus faith, and I'm not knocking him for that, but that's his thing, okay? We know about Kyrie and all his stuff, right? Andrew Wiggins, etc. I think personally, for me, it didn't surprise me who were the agents that came out. I mean, we were already talking to people behind the scenes, and I was like, yeah, it's this dude for sure. Like, we already knew. So this was just confirmation. All right, somebody actually got it out. We know he's not. And today was the physical confirmation, right? Like, he wasn't there because he wasn't allowed, because he wasn't vaccinated, right? And Wiggins, again, anyone who's saying it's personal, I don't want to answer it. Well, you obviously don't have it, because there's nothing. If you have it, there's nothing to hide. It's like, I got it, right? We know Jonathan Isaacs doesn't have the vaccine.
I just want to say you brought up that point in the chat that we were on. LeBron, who we all I think assume or know he's vaxxed now. He when they asked him if he was vaxxed, a while back, he said he didn't want to talk about it.
Yep.
So
and he was not vaxxed then. He was not vaxxed then.
He was not.
No, he was not vaxxed then. And the Lakers said they'll be 100% vaccinated by the start of the season. So it doesn't mean he's vaxxed today. And remember, they play in LA, not San Francisco. So he don't have those same requirements. But he did say, or Frank Vogel did say, 100% vaccination by the beginning of the season. So the thought process there is that LeBron will be fully vaxxed by October 19th or whatever the date is that the season starts.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jarod. I don't think this was a revelation too much in this article. I think more what I took from it, and you guys then can follow up on this. We kind of touched on this a little bit already. The things we heard about Kyrie, around Kyrie, aka World B. Flat, we heard these things around him, and I was like, "Yo, this is dangerous." The notion that he thinks this is kind of linked to some Satanism against Black folks. And, could be tracing through a microchip and all this stuff that was on this Instagram post and the stuff that he's been liking. It's wildly dangerous. And for him to then have the attitude today at Media Day, Monday, we're talking about that pass, to have the attitude of not wanting to answer these questions, to me, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And, Murph, you kind of talk about you as a father too. It's like, my daughter ain't wearing no Kyrie jersey. Okay, for a variety of reasons.
You said it's too late.
It's too late. I'm sorry, man.
He got a couple Kyrie jerseys already.
I'm sorry, but look, Simone ain't getting no Kyrie jersey for other reasons too, but she ain't getting no Kyrie jersey. just want to let that be known. But if we tie that into the stuff that we heard from Kyrie today, right, guys, and we heard from Bradley Beal in particular. And Murph, you had brought this up, right? You talked about how with Bradley Beal, he made the comments about how, well, you can have the vaccine and you can still get COVID, right? Sort of using that as this reason to not get the vaccine. Right. And for that, I feel like it's problematic because I'm always like, all right, well, we do other things in this society to protect ourselves, right? From a variety of things. For example, some of us here on this podcast, some of our listeners, y'all drive. We drive, right? And when we drive, the thing we like to do is we try to follow the traffic rules. We don't run through a red light. We don't run through a stop sign because it's dangerous. But you know something we do before all that? We put on a seatbelt. I hope y'all do. You put on a seatbelt, right? A seatbelt doesn't prevent you from having an accident, right? But it does increase the likelihood that you will not die if you get in an accident. That is literally the same thing as the vaccine. So when you have players like Bradley Beal saying this in a press conference, it's I was about to shame. Yeah. I'm just going to say it's wildly dangerous.
Right, and it's not only that, it just shows you how little he knows about what he's talking about, because we know that it was never said to us that having the vaccine would prevent you from getting it. Everybody knows that it's possible still to get COVID if you're vaccinated. We all know that. It makes it harder to get it. It makes it a little harder to spread it, but nobody said you could never get it or spread it. So that in itself shows you that he's not educated about what he's talking about. Okay, then getting to your seatbelt analogy, which is great. I love Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's analogy in terms of because a lot of the conspiracy theories are based in, especially when it concerns Black people, they're based in some truth. Like all these conspiracy theories and stuff like that, they always have a little bit of truth to them. So that's how they get people. And yes, do I, as a Black man, trust the U.S. government? No. Okay, but that doesn't mean that everything the government does, is going to be harmful to me or doesn't make sense, right? So yeah, you wear a seatbelt when you drive, and like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said, I don't care if a racist created the seatbelt, invented the seatbelt. I don't care, but I know it works.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, people, the country can still be racist. The government can still be out to get you, but you still have to open your eyes and make intelligent decisions. And the information is out there, and it's pretty obvious that the vaccines work, that this is the way to go. But
wait, real quick. And regarding the microchip thing, yo, Kyrie, they already got us, fam. If you got a phone, they got you already.
Well, I mean, come on, my guy. The
they
other thing
already,
too,
like, in terms of trying to install this and whatever, like, we all have smartphones, laptops. We're all being watched. I'm talking through a webcam right now. Somebody's probably checking me out. Like,
if the government wants to get us, they can get us at any second.
Right.
By the way, I want to point something out for people again about Murphy mentioned misinformation. What do the government got to do with a vaccine created by commercial companies?
Right,
whose
Jarod,
sole
you and I spoke
purpose
about this.
is making a profit.
Yes.
They don't got shit to do with the government. Let me tell you something about what Pfizer and Moderna and J&J care about. Making money to the tune of billions of dollars. Okay? Like, this don't got shit to do with the U.S. government. They are, you know why they made the vaccine so fast? Damn, we're going to get all this money from the government buying all these vaccines. Great.
Right.
You know,
and the government's promoting it
because they want to get people back to work.
And also to make money so that the economy gets back.
Capitalism, my friends.
Right. People are like, oh, you know, how come they came up with the vaccine so fast? Like, you know, they rushed it through. How come there's no cure to cancer or AIDS?
Oh,
I'm like, because not as large a segment of the population is affected by cancer or AIDS to shut the whole country down.
Right.
But this was shutting the country down. So of course they got on their ass and came up with a cure as fast as possible in order to get the country going and to get the economy back going. Yes, it's about money. Well, again, same thing. I don't care if a racist invented these safeguards. I don't care what the government's motivation is for promoting it. The fact is you have to look at it and know that it works, and this is a true and real pandemic.
I'm so glad. I was so glad.
Who used cancer? Who used cancer as an example?
Oh, I've heard this before. I've heard that before.
Ain't even a. You don't get cancer the same when you get COVID. It's not.
Of course,
right?
They got nothing to do with each other. Like what the
right? Right, we're comparing it to an autoimmune disease.
Oh,
and it's ridiculous. But Jarod had brought up that point to me on a phone call Jarod and I had a couple weeks ago about that with Pfizer. And I was glad he brought up that great point because people like to use that as an excuse about the profit and all that stuff, which is interesting. And this will kind of move us along, guys. It's interesting because we are talking about, particularly in the cities of San Francisco and New York, if Kyrie was really about that life and didn't want to play and miss 41 home games and how that will affect his pockets. You know, this affects money. We know it's all about money. Keeping the capitalistic train going, keeping the NBA going has always been about money, guys.
What's up, listeners and supporters of the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast? We need some help from you, and it won't take up too much of your time. As we grow, we always want to hear your feedback, so take a minute or two to fill out a short anonymous survey. The survey link is right in the episode notes for this podcast. It's easy and takes less than 5 minutes. As always, we thank you for your continued support.
Do you believe, I know Murph, you don't believe, because you said, nah, these players ain't going to do this. Do you think these players are really about this life? Is Andrew Wiggins about that life and really willing to risk these millions of dollars? Is Jonathan Isaac about that life? Is Kyrie really about it? Is Bradley Beal about this life? I don't believe it. I don't believe him.
Regular people ain't about that life. Okay? They're not about that life because there's nothing to their beliefs. There's no real morality to it because you're basing everything on a false premise, a false story, everything. So there's no way when there are a whole bunch of regular people in society that were on that say the same thing. They said the same thing. I'm not getting a shot. Not getting a shot. Then when they weren't allowed to go to work unless they took it because that's how they made their living.
Yep.
Okay, so it's going to be the same thing here. I mean, imagine Kyrie's gonna sit out the season
41 home games
and give up all that money for something that he can't even prove to be the truth.
Yeah,
you know
nah.
what I mean?
Here's the thing.
It's not like a Kaepernick situation where it's like real and you have some support. It's like some real life support, and you know in your heart that it's true, and you're standing up for your people or whatever. You're not standing up for anything here.
He certainly thinks he is. But I will say this, like regarding Kyrie, like of all the dudes you mentioned, Dex, he's the one where I could see him taking this very far because that would be very
really.
That would be very him. Like,
well,
he straight out of Kyrie's playbook.
He did back off his the world is flat comments, right? He was on that at the time and he backed off. Maybe he'll do that
publicly.
Here too. Go ahead.
I still think he probably thinks that privately, and he just doesn't want to like lead into it anymore.
All these guys left wiggle room. Like they all say, "Well, I'm going to talk to my team. I'm going to talk to my team and find out do more." Beal said the same thing. Well, I might do it. I'm going to talk to my team. They're giving themselves room to do it.
Yeah, but the only thing I will say about Kyrie and why I think he could do it is because, as you all know, I've been saying for at least 2 or 3 years he is a prime candidate for early retirement. Okay, and I still think that holds true. Whether or not this will be a reason to push him over the edge, but like I don't see him getting a contract extension max offer from the Brooklyn Nets right now, and I think that he has 1 more year after this. I could totally see him just not playing and retiring at some point. I don't think that that's going to happen necessarily. I wouldn't put my money on it if we're talking about betting again. But if we're talking about who could take it like so far here, because I don't believe Andrew Wiggins. He's half stepping like hell. Bradley Beal, like I don't think he's gonna take it, but so far, you know what I mean. I think
Andrew Wiggins doesn't have enough fortitude to like get his game right. To you think he's gonna stand for something off the? Like, get the fuck out of here.
I was waiting for that one, boy.
What about your boy Brian? What about your boy Jonathan Isaac though?
No, I don't think Jonathan Isaac.
He's not going to go all the way in on Jesus is his vaccine. We don't think that's going to happen.
See, that's
he might. He going all the way. I think.
I could see him actually doing it, but the problem with him is like, dude, you're not that good to be able to like really like cause a huge uproar about it. He plays with the Orlando Magic. They might be the worst team in the league. Like he of all the guys we're mentioning would be shooting himself in the foot the most because he hasn't gotten a big contract yet.
Yeah, everybody else got their money. The rest of them got their money.
Kyrie Irving got paid. Michael Porter Jr.
Beal.
We don't know his vaccine status, but he
just
got paid.
signed his 5-year rookie max extension.
So and you know, I was a little surprised Denver did that, but you know, maybe he got the max. Well,
that's because he's a 6'10" scoring machine, and them things don't grow on trees. And they're like, nah,
I'm just saying, amid all of this, but you know, people think he could be Kevin Durant light, so we'll see.
Chill. Don't do that. Don't do that.
People think.
You know, Jarod loves him, but not that much.
Don't do that.
And then Bradley Beal. I don't see him sort of taking this that far. You know what I mean?
So you're basically with Murph that you don't think people are they're not really about the life in the way they say they are.
Kyrie 1 and Jonathan Isaac 2 on the power rankings. The rest TBD because I want to know who the other players are. And you know what I want to know? I want to know who's the guy, like who's like this person's vaccinated, but who I don't want to name names. But who's like the 13th man? It's like, yo, nah, fuck that. I'm not getting that vaccine. Like,
nobody. There is no 13th.
No 13th man because you ain't on no roster. You're getting fired. You're getting kicked off. We don't need you.
I want to know I want one person to come forward who's like not even in the rotation, who's at the end of the line, who's not a veteran, nothing, undrafted, whatever the case may be.
You're making a good point. You're making a good point there and showing that the players that are able to stand on this, for the most part, outside of Jonathan Isaac, which you mentioned, they have a level of privilege right here.
Jonathan Isaac is at least a starter, though.
But he hasn't got that extension. He hasn't got that I'm really set for life money yet.
He's in a contract year, I believe.
The other dudes we're talking about, they've got that money. So with that being said, Jarod, do you believe any of these anti-vax NBA players are really about that life, willing to forego the money?
I mean, to Brian's point, you know, Kyrie is kind of the only one you could potentially see, not because I think he wants to give up money, but in his mind and maybe even in his heart, I believe he thinks he's standing on principles for things, right? So he may want to be, as our producer said, he has a walking stick, right? I mean, Kyrie
That's a very good line, Greg.
Kyrie feels connected, and I don't want to joke about this, but he feels connected to his Native American heritage and all these different things, and there are things bigger in the world that he seems to want to affect change in. So I could see, and again, he can only do it because he comes from the place of privilege that you mentioned, Dexter. He's already signed a max deal, got Uncle Drew and Pepsi money and all that stuff. So he's good money. Like, he don't need no more. He's straight, right? There's certain guys who can do that. But, you know, these dudes who haven't made that money, Jonathan Isaac's like, I don't know, my guy. Like, I mean, look, if you believe in Jesus that much, I guess. I mean.
Well, let me ask you in terms of Isaac and Beal, they're not in the same situation, right? In terms of their state.
Right. They don't have to
play, right? Yeah. So do they even have to get vaccinated?
They don't.
As far as the league is concerned?
They don't.
Because part of that article that we're talking about, was, how the NBA has been, they haven't been as hard on the players or the mandates as they have to be. So I would assume that Isaac and Beal can skirt this.
They can, because their states don't require it. And this is something that I talked to Henry Abbott about from True Hoop.
Well. Jonathan Isaac's in Florida. So his state endorses, you know what I'm saying?
He can do whatever.
They endorse no vax, no mask.
Henry Abbott and I talked about this, and I want to know what you guys think. If David Stern was the commissioner, still, rest in peace, would vaccines be mandatory?
Yes. I
think so too.
Greg,
I know so.
Greg, put everybody on. So I want to get people's thoughts on this also, because I was going to ask this question. I was literally thinking about this because it's one of the things I thought about. I was like, Adam Silver,
and it's not a knock against Adam. I think Adam's a great commissioner.
It's not even calling him soft, but I think he's more forgiving and tries to be more understanding and empathetic.
Adam is more of a let's work together and like let's be partners. Stern is like, fuck you, I'm the boss.
Which by the way, the Adam Silver sort of mentality that we're describing is good in a lot of different ways for a lot of different things. In terms of a management situation, that's who we would all prefer in terms of working with somebody, because we've all had bad managers at our respective previous employers, some more recent than others. And we all know, like...
we don't need to go to this.
Yeah, it's fine. And we all know that like some people are just going to be more forgiving in that way, and that benefits us, especially in a society that's supposedly being more progressive, et cetera, et cetera. Now, sometimes you need somebody who is just going to, bring out the hammer, so to speak, and pause. David Stern is somebody who would be like, no, fuck that. This league needs to keep going. He would do it for business reasons, but he would like, look, the league needs to keep going. Everyone has to get vaccinated or you're not playing. Like, I really believe David Stern wouldn't play that shit. For better or for worse.
He'd be like, take me to court. If you don't take me to court, I dare you. Let's go to court for it. That's what you do.
Right. And look, there are other people, like the NFL hasn't quite done that, but they've made it very, very difficult for you for you to survive in a league and not be vaccinated, right?
Well,
I think David Stern would actually go the entire way and be like, look, if you're not, I don't care who you are. And I really do believe, like, even if it was a star, even if it was Kyrie Irving, he'd be like, all right, you're not playing, bro. Whatever.
I would love that. And I know, Murph, you talked about this in your pod too. I did like what the NFL did for the most part with their vaccination stance, and how if there's an outbreak on this team, it will affect games and the plays of other people, the pay of other people, I should say. And when you have a sport like the NFL where it's one game a week, and you have dudes who are relying on the check, Jarod talked about the 13th man on the team, or would they be willing to do this? And we're like, hell no to that. Yes, like in the NFL, the 45th, 50th dude on the roster, they ain't trying to hear that. They're not trying to lose these game checks. They're not trying to go back to the practice squad or anything like that. Yeah, I wish there was more of a threat on the players in the NBA. I think it's disappointing. And I hear the points, Jarod, you and Brian are making about why you think Stern would have come down harder on this. And I do tend to agree with you guys on this. But unfortunately, it's not where we are. It's going to be interesting.
To Brian's point, right? It's like the carrot and the stick, right? Sometimes you need the carrot, right, in order to like have the incentive to move forward. But sometimes you need the stick too, right? Like that's management and leadership. It can't always be kumbaya and whatever. It's got to be no. I don't care if I'm dragging you along. I'm dragging you to this point because we have to move this forward, particularly in this issue, because this is about public health. Okay, this is not about like some other willy-nilly shit that who cares. Public health is not, again, these people, it's a personal decision. MFR, it is not a personal decision because you are going out into the world interacting with other people. Therefore, you are making decisions for them by your non-vaccine stance.
Amen to that. All right, we'll put a little bit of bow on this vaccine. Before Media Day, one thing you guys brought up, we'll just talk about this real quick. The Ben Simmons drama or saga, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Ain't much drama.
Ain't much drama. Ben Simmons did not show up to Media Day training camp as expected. Joel Embiid, Brian, you sent that to us in the chat. I agree with you. I thought he handled it pretty well, as best as he could in terms of answering the question around that. How do we see this playing out? I'm going to ask, is Ben Simmons really about that life? Is he willing to miss some game checks if the Sixers can't reach a deal, if they can't trade him? Is he going to, sit out these games or whatever and lose some checks? I'm not so sure about that. What do you guys think about that, how this will all unfold?
No, I think Ben's about that life. No, I think he's already drawn his line in the sand. Because remember, he's already into a deal, so it's not like I ain't got no money. He got paper. He's straight. So I think he does not want to play for this organization again. He made it clear. We saw the reports. They all tried to fly out to California to see him. He was like, "Nah, fam, we good." Like when you're at that point where you don't want to talk to them dudes, it's a wrap. So what's going to happen is Daryl, who doesn't like to lose, Daryl Morey, GM of the basketball operations for the Sixers, he's going to have to swallow some of that, and be like, look, man, we got to just move this dude. Because the longer he sits out, the more and more it's going to wane on them and be a question every time in media sessions. And they don't want to answer that no more. Not to mention him not playing, regardless of what he did in the playoffs. That makes you a worse basketball team right now. No Ben Simmons on this roster to start the regular season. You are a worse team than you were prior to. Because for all his failures and things he does poorly, him and Joel Embiid, number one duo in terms of net rating on the floor. Right? You take him away, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with everything Jarod said. I mean, what can you do? I mean, we've talked about it, ad nauseum. It's a players' league, and this is another example. Like players can do this. They can hold up. No, I don't care if in first year, second year of their contract. If they want to leave, we've already seen from past experience that the player can get out of the contract and can get at least traded and get out of that situation. I don't. As far as I agree with Jarod in terms of Philly. They kind of have to. They have to try to find a deal. Like period. You can't have this. Constantly every day you're dealing with this, and it's a distraction. You talk about the fans. Yet, no, are the fans on Ben's side? No, but I think the fans would much rather get something for him and then boo him, ridiculously every time he comes into Philly. That's the way the fans will get over that. And he's like you said, he's already drawn that line in the sand. Like why? If you're not willing to do that, you wouldn't have gone this route in the first place. And it's you got Rich Paul knows what he's doing, and also, why would Philly want to alienate Rich Paul with the clients he's going to have in the future? You're going to have to work with them. That's just the way it is.
That's a great point there. Brian, do you think this affects Philly and what they can get for Ben Simmons because he's drawn this line in the sand right now? Jarod talked about how Daryl Morey does not like to lose, but you got to take some of the L on this because other teams know you have to deal this dude. You do not have the leverage that you would have had before. So do you think Philly can even get a reasonably good package for Ben Simmons here?
They probably ain't going to get shit at this point. And it's not even like Ben Simmons, like we've said it before, Ben Simmons was, Defensive Player of the Year candidate last year, is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league and could also defend out of the post. Is a great playmaker, et cetera, et cetera. Offense during the playoffs and things of that nature. Not necessarily a guy that has proven worthy of that max contract yet, in my opinion. But on top of that, like his value is tanked, and more importantly, everyone knows, as everyone said here already, everyone knows that he has to get traded. Like everyone knows the divorce is coming officially. They're only separated right now. And I just think that, can you even get Tyrese Halliburton and stuff from the Kings? Like, can you, I don't even know what it is at this point. And then on top of that, when you're Philly, even if you get whatever the package is, and it's going to come with draft picks most likely because, how are you going to not get draft picks here? What is Philly going to do with all those draft picks? They're going to have to figure out another deal on top of that. Does it become a 3-team deal, whatever the case may be?
Might be a multiple-team deal.
Right, because they have to win now on top of that. And it's very rare in sports that you get the scenario where one team is a win-now team and has to remain a win-now team after trading one of their franchise cornerstones and max players. Like, this is so rare on top of that.
Right.
And, regarding Ben Simmons and how he's acting, where he doesn't want to come back and whether he's hurt, how it goes or whatever the case may be. I thought what Joel Embiid said today was great. It's like, look, it sucks honestly, but it's part of the game. Like you're in trade rumors. If you make a certain amount of money, or even if you don't, you're just gonna be in trade rumors all the time, save for LeBron or Kevin Durant or guys of that nature. But we're even seeing it with guys who are better than Ben Simmons, Damian Lillard, who is that's who Philadelphia wants. Like he's in trade rumors and has been in trade rumors, and this isn't the first time that he's probably been in trade rumors in his career. And you look at some other guys, like that's just sort of the game. Like, especially in this NBA where player movement is as high as it's ever been. So, I mean, I'll put it to you this way: a lot of people are calling him soft, and I just don't say nothing.
You wildin'. You wildin'.
Yeah.
You wildin'.
No, I like
speaking
the way,
loudly.
I like the way Embiid, put it. He put himself into the example. He said, "Listen, if they were offering, if Golden State was offering
Steph and Clay
Steph for me, I would agree with that. Like, it's just the way it is." So, and you're also right about Philly. They have to win now.
They have to. Yeah, they can't get worse.
Yeah, you can't waste years, Embiid years. Like you have
in his prime.
You have to win now. So they have to do their best they can and get a product out there that can win. So, I mean, but Ben and Rich Paul know what they're doing. They weren't stupid here. They knew that Philly, would be in a tough spot and would have to listen to them. And that's what they did.
Do you guys agree though, from a regular season standpoint, no Ben Simmons on the floor makes it a worse team?
Absolutely.
You mean and they don't get anything back?
Well,
because he's sitting out, and
I was gonna say I want to see what they get back, but I don't. At this point, we could agree whatever they get back is not going to be better necessarily, unless it's maybe CJ McCollum, and you could talk.
And that's why Daryl has to make a move and do something, because again,
starts.
Yes.
Let's say 20 games and he's still not traded. What do you think Philly's record is going to be after 20 games?
I was going to say, what if they're
maybe?
What if they're 11-9 or something like
that?
Right.
See that.
And here's the thing, and Philly, and look, them fans are they're gonna let you hear it. And then on top of that, we're joking about the whole Kyrie thing. That is a thing that sort of ties into this, because if you're Philly, you should want to see the opening there. Like, Kyrie Irving might not play, and he's somebody who is going to be in doubt all year. And that's on top of the fact that the Nets already have the injury concerns, because we saw how last year played out. If you're Philly, you want to go for it now, theoretically, because you probably think that you can take Brooklyn, you could probably take Milwaukee, whatever the case may be. However we feel about that here, they should be thinking that way. I'm sure Daryl Morey does. And if you really do believe that, you have to make a move ASAP. And you have to get this figured out.
And he can play.
There's no way you can have no Ben Simmons on the roster and think that this team is going to compete in any way in the Eastern Conference. And I, like Jarod, you said 11-9. I forgot who brought up 11-9. They could be 9-11 after 20 games.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I said 11-9.
This roster is not going to be that good, and we know this from all covering and watching the NBA. You're not doing this with one superstar star alone. That ain't going to get it done. It's not going to get it done in Philly. So all the pressure is on Morey right now. And I agree, ASAP, like Brian said, it's got to get done before the season starts. You need to get, if you're going to get other guys in here, if there's going to be a 3-team deal, you have to get guys in here to understand playing under Doc, get him into the system, get him some preseason games under their legs, and Ben can do wherever else he goes and gets on his leg. The more time this takes, especially before they actually start playing preseason games,
the worse for Philly.
The worse it is for Philly.
Yep.
The worse, not even in terms of just what they can get for Ben Simmons in return, but it's just worse for the team in terms of team building. We all know chemistry matters and continuity matters. You need to get guys in there that can play with Embiid, understand what they need to do. And the longer it takes, the worse it is for the team. And the other thing we know, guys, all being members of the media, these questions ain't going to stop. Nope. They're going to come every day. They're going to ask Embiid, and at some point, Embiid's going to walk up to management and be like, look, man, I'm sick and tired of answering these damn questions. Y'all need to get this dude up out of here so I don't have to talk about this anymore. And that's part of the pressure. That's absolutely going to be part of the pressure.
The challenge for Philly is Daryl is okay being uncomfortable in these situations, and it's fine because Daryl don't got to talk to the media. Eventually, you mentioned Joel. Not only Joel is going to be like, I'm sick of this. Josh Harris, the owner, is going to be like, because owners, above all else, hate looking stupid in front of their peers, other owners, in the media. And when they go to their meetings and whatever, they start making fun of, what's up with that Ben Simmons thing, whatever. Believe me, they are sensitive to that shit. And he's going to be like, Daryl, I don't care what you got to do. Make this thing happen. So it's going to be a lot. Real quick on Brooklyn, I was thinking about something as you just said something, Dex. I wonder about everybody wondered about the Patty Mills signing, right? Like, damn, I need another ball. Do you think they knew all along, like, yo, Kyrie ain't going to fuck around with this shot. Let's just get another ball handler. So just in case you don't play games, we got Patty Mills. Because if there's any one team who could who could afford to lose one of their stars, it's Brooklyn, right? Like, particularly that star, right? Not that I'm not saying Patty Mills is better than Kyrie. Calm down. I'm just saying If you don't play for some games, they'd be like, we'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn's
that's
entire
huge.
roster is crazy when you look at that roster and all the guys they got that could at least give you 15 minutes of really good play. So what Blake Griffin did last year, everybody thought he was done. I mean, you got like Millsap, you got Aldridge. I like a lot of what they did. They got Bembry is very versatile. You got Bruce Brown back. They got so many guys, man, that you can plug in there. But let me just go back quickly to Philly, and I just want to say, address this Doc Rivers thing, because he keeps on saying in press conferences that he didn't say what you said. I mean,
and he was real sensitive about that today.
Yeah,
bro.
he was really sensitive. Dude, I'm a Doc Rivers fan. You said that.
We caught it on tape.
Yeah, you went up there and they asked you if they thought you could win a championship with Ben Simmons, and you said, I don't know the answer to that.
Well,
you weren't answering he was not answering another question.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you about that, Murph. How did you feel about what he said today in terms of, he talked about how we, the media, need to understand intent in what he was saying.
We got you, dog.
I was sitting there like, bro, you answered the question. And said
the next day you intended something different. I get it. But at the time, this is what you said. And to me, it was egregious. I'm not blaming him for the Ben Simmons situation as it is now, because Ben Simmons probably deserves most of the blame. But it was Doc Rivers, and he brought this up today. He was like, who's been a bigger supporter of Ben Simmons? And he's right, nobody. But you supported Ben Simmons, the player he was, all year long. You said you told the media you didn't care if he was an offensive threat. You didn't care if he shot. He brings everything else to the table. So then you go into the playoffs and he doesn't take any shots, and then you lose and you throw him under the bus.
Right. Just own it. You still don't think he could be a championship point guard? You can say that's fine. I mean, that's fine if you like, just stay in it. Like we're saying, but we've done a whole podcast.
Say it with your chest, man.
A lot of people not saying things with their chest.
Say it with your chest, man.
Before we get up out of there, because the NBA season's upon us, and we'll talk more NBA, of course, through various platforms. But who is everybody? What's your early pick to win the NBA championship? I know Jarod and Murph, you guys were riding with Brooklyn last year. Murph, you talked about how crazy their roster is. Are you riding with BK once again?
Yeah, I'm riding with them again. They're better. They're deeper and better. I was looking at their roster. They got like 15 guys that have played, like that can play. Can play at least 15-minute stretches at a high level. So they're better than last year. I give Sean Marks a lot of credit for the way he puts together teams. Even last year's team, I thought he did a great job surrounding those guys in a short period of time. To me, health. It's all about if they still healthy or if Kyrie Irving plays games, right? But if he does play games and they stay healthy, I think they're the best team in the league by far.
Yeah, I mean, this to me, Dex, is an easy no-brainer. Again, if they're healthy and Kyrie's playing games, there's not a team in the league that can play with them. It's just, we saw it without them being healthy. They almost damn near beat Milwaukee, the eventual champs. Like, their biggest thing, we talked about a team that can afford to lose superstars. The one dude they cannot afford to lose is Kevin Durant, right? That's the guy. Like, once he's healthy and then everybody else is playing, they're straight. Nobody can mess with this team.
Brian? Just say the Miami Heat. Just say the Miami Heat. We know you want to say the Heat, so just say the Heat.
Let's be real about that. The Heat cannot be Brooklyn healthy. Cannot.
I don't. Well, Brooklyn's not going to be healthy, though.
You don't know that.
I
refuse to believe that. I just refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that I said it last year.
You sound like the same people that refuse to believe that the vaccine could work. Sound just like them.
Except there's actual evidence to the Nets not being healthy last year, which, by the way, I had said that last year, that they weren't going to be healthy toward the end of the season.
It's a new year.
And it ended up happening. So, you know what? I'm just going to say that I don't think Kyrie Irving has a major impact on the season. I don't think the Nets are going to be healthy all the way through. I think we're overestimating their roster. And, Blake Griffin was nice, but is he going to do that for a full season? Is Marcus Aldridge going to be good? All these questions going on. The only problem is in the Eastern Conference, ain't a lot of teams that I'm going to be confident about. So, you know what? I'm just going to put all right, I'm going to turn this into a betting thing, right? And who's a team that I'm going to put my money on in terms of odds? I'll go with the Dallas Mavericks.
What? First of all, shut up.
I'll go with the Dallas Mavericks.
You might put your money on
Dallas Mavericks.
The question is,
if you a superstar, the shit just happens a little bit sooner than you expect. I'll put money on Dallas. Luka
No,
Doncic,
no.
baby.
Do you
know what I'm saying?
believe that? Do you believe? I asked Murph.
I'll do
and I asked
Porzingis for
Jarod.
Ben Simmons right now.
Hold on. I asked Murph and I asked Jarod who they think is going to win the championship. Now, who are you going to pick? You think is the best value because the odds? Who do you tell me you think the Dallas
Say it
Mavericks
with
are
your
going to win the
chest.
championship?
Say it with your chest, Brian. You don't believe that. Who do you believe?
I am going to pick the Dallas Mavericks to win the 2022 NBA title.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Okay. Oh,
Why
all
not?
right.
Let
Why
Luka
not?
win a
But,
playoff series first.
no, who was picking Milwaukee last year after they got out of the playoffs in 2 embarrassing ways or whatever the case may be? Like, I don't care about being right about this shit. I'm telling you right now who I think is going to win the NBA
The
Finals.
Dallas Mavericks.
And that's the
I
Dallas
love
Mavericks
Luka.
as of
I'm
right
team
now.
Luka all day. But we're
You
picking
know,
the Dallas
I don't
Mavericks
even
here?
think you think that.
I'm trading Chris Porzingis for Ben Simmons straight up. Here's
You don't
your
believe
problem. Here's
he-
my
yeah,
problem.
He don't
You
believe
don't believe that.
He
You know
don't
what?
believe
You know
it.
what, guys? I might as well be as ridiculous. Why don't I just go out and pick the Knicks? Why
There
not?
you go.
Why
Why not?
not? Since we're being ridiculous here, why not?
What
say
are
the Knicks
the
are gonna win
pretty
the
odds?
even.
What are the
Dallas
odds?
Knicks
What are the
might
odds
be
on the
even.
Knicks? What are the odds on the Knicks? Might be
I
close,
don't
right?
know, but I don't believe they're going to win the championship. Like,
Gotta make
I
money.
don't believe they're going to win the
But
championship.
hold on. If you look at the Western Conference, it's really not that crazy. Okay, the Lakers.
Hold on. If you look at the Dallas Mavericks roster, it is that crazy. Like, who are you trusting on that team besides Luka?
Luka is your boy, right?
That is my
You
guy.
love Luka.
I love
He's
Luka,
one dude.
and I'm
He's
still
one
rational.
dude.
He's one guy. Kristaps Porzingis, I think, will bounce back and have a decent season. I think he will. But you know what we don't trust?
Yeah.
What did you say on Picks and Props, Murph? He leads the league in walking off the court right behind Anthony Davis or whatever. Yeah, this is why I'm not trusting that. And you're gonna put your money on them?
Sure.
I mean, no, Jackson, you know what it is?
Hold on.
Brian wants to actually pick the Lakers, is what he really wants to do. But that same faulty argument he used with the Nets about injuries applies to Lakers. So he can't use it there. He's like, shit. And you don't want to pick Miami because he knows deep in his heart Miami really ain't that good. I guess that's why he's going crazy with Dallas.
I think so. Yo, Brian, stop trolling the people here, man.
Look, he hung up.
He left. He left because he couldn't take it. He left because he couldn't take it.
He got so mad.
He got so mad.
How dare you diss the Heat?
You know what Brian just did? You know what he just did? He was like, it got too personal for him. It got too personal for him, and he had to leave. He had to leave. It got too
I pressed
personal.
the wrong button by accident.
Yeah.
So wait, I didn't catch the last part of what you said. What I will say is that
You basically
you were
said
still
what you're
going.
saying is bullshit. That's what we said. That's what we said.
Look, all I'm saying is this. I'm just picking a team who has some dude who's going to be really good this year. I don't want to pick the Nets
You don't
because
even
I just
sound
really
like you believe that. You don't believe it.
You don't believe
it. It's not about belief. It's where I'm putting my money.
Asked you.
That's the question. The question was about belief.
Who do I believe is going to win the championship?
Yes. Belief. Yeah, belief. Not money. Belief.
You're putting your faith in Tim Hardaway Jr. like that.
Yeah, nah. You don't believe in Tim Hardaway Jr. No,
shit, I think Tim Hardaway
Yo,
Jr.
Brian,
played more games than Kyrie Irving.
Brian, just keep it a buck and say you want to say the Heat.
It's
because you love Heat.
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily see finals but here's the thing, like even more than the last couple of years, every NBA team is so flawed this year that I just don't really have any confidence in anybody again. And I was saying the same shit last year. I actually think Phoenix could repeat because I don't think anybody in the Western Conference is all that imposing and great or whatever the case may be. I think Denver honestly would have been my pick had Jamal Murray been healthy. We don't know if we're going to see him this year. The Clippers with Kawhi Leonard, if he was healthy, and he's listing himself day to day, which was the most underrated and funny thing that happened today, given that he has a partially torn ACL. He's saying he's day to day, whatever. But that's another one where I'm like, do I have confidence in the health?
Who are you picking?
I don't know, dude.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. He's on the
side. I don't know.
He's on the side of the fence. Look, I will say this. I think if healthy, the Nets should have this. I think they will win if they're healthy. I'm with Murph. I like their roster. I know Brian doesn't want to get the Nets fans too excited because they're gonna come at him and he doesn't want them to be on this Kyrie bandwagon. I get all that.
They barely listen to the pod anymore because we chased them all away. And
yeah, that it is what it is. Whatever.
You know what? I'm gonna just for now. I'm gonna just pick the Bucks to repeat because I don't.
Okay, fine.
He
made a pick. He picked the Bucks.
Bucks versus Mavs, baby.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna pick the Nets. I think if they're healthy, they're gonna be too tough to beat. I wouldn't sleep on the Lakers as much as some other people are, but I don't trust their age either. And I just want the Lakers to be somewhat good so we can get some more LeBron propaganda season for Jarod.
Oh,
That's all I
Lord.
really want.
They'll be
That's all
somewhat
I'm
good.
asking.
They'll be
Yeah,
somewhat good.
I think they will be. All right, but that's it for this episode. Because if we go any longer, Brian's gonna start picking teams like the Sacramento Kings and some
Oh,
other
Lord.
bullshit that I don't really want to hear.
Not even if Chris Webber were there in his prime. Real quick, I do want to say,
yes,
wrote a Latino Rebels piece that y'all should check out. I just want to let y'all know. It's
No
called.
doubt.
It was based off. This is for the listeners too. There was an ESPN study last week on the lack of diversity in media newsrooms and sports media newsrooms, et cetera, which we've all dealt with. And I wrote a column about that. Shout out to Julio. And it's on Latino Rebels right now, called "Waiting for Them," in quotes, to hire more people of color isn't going to change media the way it should. And having dealt with some people who you think would be allies and are not actually, like, this is something that I felt was appropriate to write at this time. Because just because, offices are bringing in more people of color doesn't quite mean that those people are actually people who want to see their people thrive. They might just revel in being the only person of their kind in said room, thus increasing their value, making them selfish. And this is how we don't move forward as people. So y'all should check that out.
Definitely can relate to that. That's gonna wrap it up for this episode 194 of the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. Please check out my man Jamal Murphy on the Bros Pod, all the work that he does there. Another great episode, I'm sure, coming up this week. Also, be sure to check out Jarod Hector on the 7 Footers podcast and on True Hoop. I know they will be talking about the vaccination stuff this week, along as Media Day. So check them out on Fridays. I'll bring it in on True Hoop. Always a good time. With him and Henry Abbott as well too. That's it. And for Brian, you can check him out a billion tons of places, making picks like the Mavericks or the Heat to win the NBA championship, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I didn't pick the Heat.
Okay,
I'm not.
Listen,
but you want to.
I'm not confident in anybody right now. Okay, you're gonna have to check in with me in October.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying.
October's a couple days away. I'll check in with you on Friday. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, we'll check with you on Friday. So for Jarod Hector,
I haven't even bought 2K yet, so I'm not equipped for this right now. You know what I'm saying?
It has to come back to a video game.
Always, you know that.
Or wrestling. So after you mentioned Trae Young coming up with a WWE belt or whatever.
Oh yeah, he was on SmackDown recently.
I don't even know why I said that.
No, why you getting?
No, but here's the thing: they brought him out during the SmackDown show that was at Madison Square Garden, and they booed the shit out of him. It was great. It was fantastic.
Whatever. All right, for Jarod Hector, Jamal Murphy, and Brian Fonseca, who makes ridiculous picks, I'm Dexter Henry. Until next time on the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast, y'all. Peace.